Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hi, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
We hope that you had a nice Labor Day last week. Look, I couldn't remember the name of the holiday.
I was about to call it Memorial Day.
Okay. We hope you had a nice Labor Day last week. And if you didn't listen to that episode, please go back and listen to this one and that one. Please listen to both. Not that they're related, but because we just think it's a topic you may be interested in. Yeah. So today we're going to talk about ignoring, and it really was inspired by something that I saw. Sometimes I watch documentaries. Well, more than sometimes I watch documentaries. I really love documentaries because true life is stranger than fiction. So I'm very interested in documentary stories about people. And sometimes I watch documentaries having to do with court cases and crimes that have taken place. And then it interests me in the trial. And I go back and watch the trial, even though I know how it ends.
She does this all the time. It's not just sometimes.
The benefits of things like court TV, I can go back and watch the actual testimony and how it unfolded, which fascinates me. I don't necessarily want to be a juror, but I'm very fascinated sitting at home watching this. So I was watching the trial of a terrible tragedy that took place in Michigan. There was a school shooting, and it was the first case in which the parents were charged with involuntary manslaughter having to do with gross negligence and their child who was the shooter. Okay. So I'm watching the trial of one of the parents, and the prosecutor, I believe in the opening statement, said something that I immediately texted to Alison, because not only did it apply to this case, but it applied to teaching and raising young children as a whole.
Absolutely does.
So here's the quote. The prosecutor said, "The opposite of love is not hate. It's being ignored." And I sat here thinking about generations who thought the right thing to do about children's behavior was ignore it.
Yes.
And I thought about that quote. The opposite of love is not hate. It's being ignored. And I thought that is beyond true. It is
very true, right? Because when you love something, you give a lot of attention to it, positive attention. When you hate something, you give a lot of attention to it, but it's negative. When you're ignoring it, that means I don't even care to have the energy to be around you.
I'm not even giving you enough energy, enough of my time, enough of my intellect, enough of my caring to respond.
Right.
And that is a terrible thing. And that can be from the level of the things that we do about children's behavior, but maybe this will also help you relate to it. Have you ever felt very strongly about something that's happened? I know I have. And I've sent an email to say, here's what you need to know, or here's why I feel strongly about this. And you get nothing back. Can you imagine? You get no response.
I think, that's worse than you responding to me negatively, I think. Because at least if you're responding to me and I'm taking it as negative, at least I know you cared enough to respond.
If we write to a business, and we say to the business, here's why I'm upset about your product, about your service, about what you've done, and they don't write back, our immediate response is, well, they don't care about their customers.
Correct. They
right?
don't care. They don't care.
I was in a group on Facebook for a product that I ordered. Many people were talking about having ordered it and not received it. That wasn't the case for me, but they were talking about how they never received it, that they wrote multiple emails. No one is responding. You must not care. I'm calling my credit card company. It was infuriating them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And now we're just talking about, I didn't get a product shipped to me.
Right.
So let's think about a child.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. My behavior shows I am struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be from the child crying in the crib, the newborn,
True.
all the way up to the third grader who is lashing out or becomes withdrawn.
Yes.
And we decide we're going to ignore that. What is the message that the child gets? And I think that what this prosecutor said, that it's the opposite of love,
Mm-hmm.
is the message.
Yeah.
Many years ago, well, I mean, in my lifetime, not so many, but in the 1960s, a theorist named Erik Erikson developed his psychosocial stages of development.
Mm-hmm.
The first stage for infants, birth to one,
Mm-hmm.
is trust versus mistrust. Children struggle with, can I trust the people and the things in this world, or is this world full of mistrust? And it's because of Erikson's theory that the debate started in our society. Do I go to the child who's crying in the crib, or do I ignore it?
Right.
That is still a debate. 60 years later,
Yeah.
people are still debating that because of generation after generation after generation teaching people, don't go, the baby has to learn to self-soothe.
Yes.
Which is not the first step of learning self-regulation.
Yeah.
The first step of learning self-regulation has to do with accepting the comfort of other people. And this, by the way, this is research-based.
Yeah.
Step one in learning self-regulation,
Mm-hmm.
being willing to accept the comfort of other people. If I don't offer you that comfort and I decide I'm going to ignore it, I have taught the child mistrust. Erikson taught that if children experience trust more than mistrust, they will experience both. There are times when you can't get to them fast enough for them.
Yeah.
If they experience more trust, they develop hope. So what are we doing when we, generation after generation after generation, teach children there is no trust?
That's such a sad world
That
for that child if they have no trust in anyone.
but that's, you have to think about the foundation we're
Right.
laying for young children
Right.
from the time they're born.
Yeah.
Erikson, if you go up and you look up Erik Erikson, he has stages for throughout our lives. If you look up the age group you're in right now, it's going to be on target.
Yeah.
Erikson was,
It always is.
it always is.
Yeah.
Erikson knew about this. Erikson was right about this. We have to give it to him. And we have to recognize what we're doing. Generation after generation, I think we need to rethink this because what? Because the opposite of love is not hate, it's being ignored. And again, that's true for your third grader who is either withdrawing or lashing out because they're struggling.
Yeah.
To say, we're going to ignore it, it'll go away. Well, it may go away, but it's going to morph into something else ugly.
Right. It's
Some other ugly thing.
Gonna,
that was a weird sentence. Some other ugly thing.
It's going to turn into something else, right?
Yes.
It doesn't just magically go away because you ignore it. It's fueling it.
I have ignored symptoms. And then by the time I stop ignoring it, I need an antibiotic.
Yes. Yes. It's true. But
I have ignored things like foot pain, hoping it'll go away in a couple of weeks, and ended up with orthotics.
yes. Yes. True story. I have done that. I still do that.
It's part of human nature.
Nature. I think
we also need to give our bodies time to see what's going to happen. And it's part of human nature.
Right.
But when we're talking about a child's psyche, what on earth are we doing? There are children in classrooms and the child is behaving in a way that the adults are like, no, that's not acceptable. And maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not.
But in order to sort of alleviate those feelings, to get the child to calm themselves, to get the child to learn something about their behavior, we can't ignore it. We have to go and address it.
Yeah.
You have to help the child to calm down, wait until they're calm and address it. Helping the child calm down is our sign that I'm not ignoring you. When we say to children, you're upset right now, you go sit over there and calm yourself down. One, they struggle with that. And two,
most of the time.
Two, the message that they internalize is you don't care.
Yes. I think it's showing them like, oh, I'm not even worthy of her teaching this to me. I'm not even worthy of her getting me to calm down. Like I'm not worthy of her comfort. And that's a horrible feeling.
It is. It's terrible. This person is not a comfort to me. I'm not worthy of the comfort. Don't you all sometimes need comfort? There are times when I just need comfort.
Everyone does, no matter how old you are.
There are times when we simply need to be comforted. And that helps to lessen and dissipate the big emotions. That helps people to see there's help for them if they need it. We're here for them. Yeah. And it teaches them, when we pay attention to it, that we love them. We love them enough to go through this hard moment with them.
Yeah.
Sort of join them on the journey of this hard moment. I love you so much that I'm not going to take this hard moment and put it in another room.
Right.
I'm not going to take this hard moment and send it to the corner.
Right.
I'm going to sit in this hard moment with you.
Yeah.
You know, when we basically communicate to children through our actions, I'm willing to sit in this hard moment with you. They know that. They remember that. They eventually are like, they were always there for me.
Yes. And you'll see them grow, right? Like I have a boy in my class who struggled with emotions, where he would get very angry. But I sit with him. Like sometimes I just sit next to him and I'm like, all right, well, when we're ready, I taught him all these terms and he knows how to do. Now he just knows, like, if I have an issue, I can go to her. And he does. He'll come up to me. He's like, I'm feeling angry. And he knows the words. There are other teachers who sat him like in the corner somewhere and is like, here, you go do that over there. And he'll talk about it. Like, he's only 4. He'll be like, I don't like that teacher. And it's like, well.
And why does he not like that teacher? Because he perceives that teacher doesn't like him.
Yes, exactly.
You said earlier something that struck me. When we first started talking about this, Allison's immediate reaction to that quote was, well, when you hate, you're still feeling some emotion about the person.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about it that way. Yeah. I really hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right.
Yeah.
You're investing, maybe it's a negative part of you or a negative feeling.
Yeah.
You're investing though.
Yes.
You have to invest to love.
Right.
And you have to invest to hate.
Yes.
It's a lack of investment is ignoring. And the children need to know we're investing in them, right? Yeah. I'm investing in you no matter what you do. Yeah. Some of you are probably thinking, did Cindy go to her crying children in the crib? Yes, I absolutely did. I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to say it in a society that would put us down for it. Yeah. People hide these things. This is my experience with families. People hide these things. Folks, I'm going to call it all out in the white hot spotlight. Ready? I went to my crying children in the crib. When they came and needed to be with me in my bedroom at night, I let them. Yeah. Did I bring them back into their rooms eventually? Yeah, but maybe I sat with them in there because they needed me. Yes. They needed my love and attention for whatever reason. I'm going to own it. There are so many people who do that, who will tell you in public, no, I never did that, but they did. And if you're listening to this and you did what is essentially the family bed in many cultures, then I want you to know there's no shame in that.
But there is all this shaming that goes on when it comes to parenting. There is parenting shaming, there's mommy shaming. No, like stop. Like you do what you need to do. And in your case, your sons are now adults who have a very, very, very close relationship with you.
Yeah.
And perhaps if you didn't go into the crib and get them or let them come into your bed when they needed to, you wouldn't have that because they wouldn't trust you.
I don't know because we did it.
I know.
It's not like we didn't do. I don't know, but
saying.
I have a wonderful relationship with my children who are productive, independent adults. Not to say that they've never needed some support or help. I'm not saying they're perfect in any way. I'm just saying I did that. I never regretted it.
Right.
I went to my crying child in the crib because I felt this child is crying and screaming because he needs or wants something.
Yeah.
If I ignore that, what lesson am I teaching him about me as a parent and about the world around him?
They're young and they're having an emotional issue, right? If you go to them and help them through it, then when they're teenagers and something really big happens, they know like, oh, I can go to her because she'll be there for me. She's going to love me first, no matter what I did or need help with.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
If you're someone who believes they need to self-soothe and cry it out, you're very much entitled to that belief. Everyone has the right to raise their children the way they want. I just don't like to talk about a topic like this without talking about what I actually did, because I don't want anyone to think like I'm hiding or I'm preaching something that I didn't do.
Right.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
And again, you have the right to decide what you're going to do. Do my children still need me when they're highly emotional? No, they're adults who learned to self-soothe. Yeah. They will sometimes call me to tell me what's going on because they need to talk about it or they need to vent. You know, people think if I go to my child who's crying, they're never going to learn to go to bed on their own. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. The magic day comes when they do it on their own. And the magic day comes when they don't come into your room and it's kind of a sad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't need you in that way anymore.
Yeah.
They've matured.
Yeah.
There's so many practices and old wives' tales and things that still exist.
Oh, yeah.
The most important thing that we can teach children in any setting, home or school, is that they're valued and loved. Beyond that, anything can be taught. Yeah. But if they don't know that they have value and they don't develop that self-worth and self-esteem that comes from that, it's much harder to teach everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to just say the quote one more time before we end the episode.
It's important.
The opposite of love is not hate, folks. It's being ignored. Thank you to the prosecutor who said that, because it was the truth about that case. And I think it's the truth for all of us when we're interacting with children or with adults. Mm-hmm. Think about your relationship with some adults. When you're angry with them or you're upset with them, does ignoring them make the difference? And ignoring, by the way, is different than saying you are a toxic person and you've got to go. That's different.
Yeah.
I'm just going to what do you think? We let the people think about it?
Yeah, I think so.
And let us know what you think. You should know how to reach us by now. We say it in every episode. And if you're not sure, go listen to another episode. Mm-hmm. All right, folks, we'll catch you next time on the podcast.
Bye, peeps.